for our next fireside chat, and that is the future of insurance unplugged, exploring the digital era. So let's meet our guest for this. Delighted to welcome Julian Hucks, founder and managing director at Starpeak. Julian, hi, how are you? Oh, can't currently hear you, Julian. Just bear with me. Just got a brief technical hitch. Can you hear me, Julian? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Absolutely. Can you hear me?
I can now. Fantastic.
Great.
That's always a good start to proceedings. Okay. Well, let's. You were founded 1991 at Sports Cover Direct, so you've got a huge amount of experience to fall back on here, and the whole of this digital revolution and era change. For you, how has the digital era transformed the insurance industry in that time?
It's very significant. We need to go back to the days when we started selling insurance, 1992, following a trip to France where I was learning to paraglide and asked to buy a policy. That policy was about £25 at the time for a very risky sport, and we then discovered how we could sell that across borders. It was a French policy. We had a computer in France that would give us policy numbers, and that was considered to be control from the French side. And we started selling in 1992 from brochures. That then gradually grew, and from about 1994 or 5, we got to fairly significant numbers. And then we were very, very fortunate with the internet coming along. And that's been, I think, the main driver for technology and certainly for sales growth within the niche insurance businesses.
Because over those 2 decades or more since the internet's arrival and going mainstream, how do you feel that digital change has evolved in that time? Because I'm sure the very first website that you were selling off has changed significantly to now what people see from you now.
Yes, it absolutely has. Our first website went live in 2002. And the internet had just come along, and that was very basic. It was a brochure site. And it was initially just getting people to find you through search. Google didn't really start coming into play until about 2010, when we discovered that we could use Google to attract customers. And really, it's transformed now. We don't sell from brochures at all.
But for you as a more niche insurer, because that's where you started, that's your strength. How do you feel that differentiates from other insurance providers? Do you feel that digital revolution has really helped a more niche insurer?
I think it has, absolutely. There are a few key things that happened during that process for us. We were selling travel insurance initially under the Sports Cover Direct brand, and we had to learn a lot about how insurance worked. It's quite difficult to make a travel insurance policy turn a profit for the insurers, and we had to develop systems within our own software to allow us to analyse what was going on, see where the claims were coming from, and adjust prices where necessary. But we, once we'd got that part of the business running, and travel was a major part of it, we then realised we could sell other policies. And as an example, personal trainer insurance, when we were first selling it, it was selling at about £150. The digital revolution, if you like, has forced competition into the market online, and it's brought the prices down, and now it's sold at, £60, £70 for a year's policy.
Do you feel the pace of change is increasing, though? You've seen the digital era grow from start to current day. Do you feel that change is still accelerating?
I think it is, but I think the major acceleration was at the beginning of the internet and Google coming along for us. And what's happening now is the competitiveness out there is quite significant. Google seems to dominate in terms of the marketing, the route to market. Like a lot of companies now, we're looking at whether there are other ways we can attract business. Google is still probably 60 or 70% of the new business that we get. Retention is extremely important, because quite often with Google, you rely on it being a 2 or 3 years that the customer will stay with you once you've paid the Google fee.
Do you feel it's been important, though, to help the business as a whole thrive? and grow from where it began from? The fact you had the advent of the internet and all these new digital tools, was it the perfect time?
Yes, I think it was. I have a technical background, and from the very beginning, we were writing our own software. So we've been through about 4 iterations of our online software, and it's all our own, and that's quite unique. And I think the fact that we've lived with it for so long has given us a real advantage, because we not only understand insurance, but we understand the technical aspects of the software, and we have an enormous amount of management information that we get from it, which allows us, in this digital world, to see quite clearly where policies are coming from, what type of customers we've got, and where we need to concentrate our efforts on to gain more customers.
Yes, the two are inextricably linked. We've looked backwards a fair bit. That's got us up to present day. What we're wanting to look at now really is the future of insurance, as the title of this section suggests, the future of insurance unplugged. For you, how do you see technology shaping the future of insurance, and what are the challenges do you see in that kind of implementation?
I think the future of insurance, it has been developing quite significantly over the years, and it's still developing. It does look like it's AI that will take us forward, and we're doing quite a lot of work in that area. I tend to put it into 2 categories. I'll say there's the customer-facing AI and the non-customer-facing AI. It's much easier to work on the non-customer-facing AI, because we still have these doubts about whether it will hallucinate from time to time, give the wrong answers. It's keeping it reliable in front of a customer. But in terms of helping us with back office challenges, Starpeak, we're doing a lot to investigate whether AI can help us. And I don't know if everybody will realise that a lot of the Google search stuff now is using AI to help identify customers that are more likely to buy.
Because how important is it that experience from the customer is right if they're getting involved with AI, and as you say, if it has a moment, let's say, and produces something unusual, I guess you've lost that customer. How critical is it that the technology is reliable, is consistent? Because if it gets it wrong, that's a customer who might not come back to you.
Yes, it is absolutely critical when it's customer facing. But not only might they not come back to us, but they might get the impression that they're covered for something that they're not covered for. And that really, for us, would be a worst case, because we could get a rather large claim from someone who said, but when I asked the question, you told me I was covered. So it has to be extremely reliable.
For you, what's the balance between, you've got all of these years of experience as a business, strong reputation. How do you go about balancing that human experience and expertise with the power of AI? How do you get a good balance between the two as you move into the future?
It's something we're currently investigating. We hadn't done a lot before ChatGPT came along, and we are aware that other companies are doing quite a lot. But I don't think it's proved itself yet. And there is, as I say, they're using a chatbot that will respond to a customer in real time and give the correct answers every time is a real challenge. And until we've had a chance to test it, as a small business, our budget for this type of work is not huge. So we're trying to use third parties as well to give us indications as to where we can put AI into the business.
So I know there's been a tremendous amount of work done already through different forums about the responsible use of AI. Do you feel it'd be a time for the industry really to collaborate on that kind of information?
I think it would be good if the industry would collaborate, but the insurance industry, through some of its associations, will collaborate. But most of us are looking to try and break new ground ourselves. We can find a way to improve our returns. That's what we're doing. I don't see the collaboration. I think the other way, of course, is where suppliers become very good. We might have the odd 1 or 2 suppliers who become very good at building models and making them reliable. In fact, that's where a lot of our attention is going into that area at the moment.
So as digital and technological progress continues to accelerate, how have you at Starpeak been adapting to meet the needs of the customers? Has that been a significant challenge?
Yes. One of our main challenges is to ensure that once someone comes to our website, they follow the process through, they get themselves a quote, and they then buy. And we're using quite a lot of digital assets to watch what customers are doing, monitoring how far they get through our purchase process. We've modified things over the years. We now don't ask for any personal details before we give pricing. We run A/B testing from time to time, so we try different methods online for keeping people feeling that they're engaged and that it's all about them. And that has worked. You can get to the point where you just change various colours on the website for buttons, and you'll find more people who click them. It's quite interesting.
Because I think that the average customer now is so discerning now. The experience has to be so good. For you, how vital is it that you never rest on your laurels? You may think the web experience is fantastic, and then there's the risk to almost stop and think, well, we've got this nailed now. How vital is it there's continuous improvement and monitoring?
Continuous improvement is very important. At Starpeak, we're always looking at how our sites are working. We recently, although it is quite a big process to redo your sales flow through a site, but we do feel it's very important. We're monitoring it all the time. And we invest quite a lot of money in redeveloping various areas of our sites. We've got about 15 products now, and although there is a similarity between them all, we do try and ensure that each one makes the customer feel that we know what they're looking for and we're offering them something that will help.
For you, how important are partnerships, or maybe using things such as embedded insurance when you're partnering with other potential avenues for business? How critical is it that all of those avenues are explored?
We do explore them. For instance, with our pet business policy, the dog walker policy, we cover people who are walking dogs for the hour that they might be doing that. But the most difficult aspect to all of that is ensuring that somebody switches the insurance on and off at the right times. Imagine that we were covering someone playing golf, and whenever they got to a golf course or hit their ball from the first tee, we could know from using geographic locations and stuff, but they'd have to have the app running, they'd have to have their phone with them, and the big fear would be that on that one occasion when they had a claim, they forgot to turn it on or the app wasn't running. So we have to be very careful. So wherever there is a situation which involves you starting a clock of some type, and the insurance will start at that point, it's relatively straightforward. In other areas, like just covering someone who, for instance, wants to have travel insurance that's pay as you go, how would we be sure as to when to start that policy and when to finish it?
Now, we've talked about how the advent of the internet was a change. Do you feel the advent of apps and people always having that product potentially with them was a significant change? Do you think that really changed people's relationship with the products you offer?
Well, to a degree it did, but what we found was often apps have to be downloaded. So if you've got your mobile phone in front of you and you're looking for insurance, you can get just the same interaction with a customer through using a web browser that's been adapted to work for a mobile phone as you could with an app. So the app's very useful if you want to be doing continuous monitoring of some sort. But for insurance, it's often a very short process. I need insurance, I'll go and find the best price, or I'll find the best policy, and I'll buy it. And after that, there's not a lot to do. There is the idea that claims apps can be quite useful, because when someone's making a claim, it's nice for them to be able to see where they are in that process. But apps actually haven't been, for us, a way of promoting sales.
When it comes to strategies you employ at Starpeak about trying to stay ahead of competition? Because I'm sure there's always people trying to encroach onto your digital turf. What kind of strategies can you tell us about that you actually employ to try and stay at the leading edge of things?
Well, we've talked about keeping the website up to date and working properly. We also, price is important, but it's not always a key aspect to it. Google, again, I'm afraid is one of the, it has been and still is the major source of new customers. And obviously we have to tweak our, what they call our long tail and short tail words. So the phrases that people use to search, make sure that we've got all of the ones that are relevant in our armory. So when they search on them, our option will come up. Staying top organically is very important. So underneath the adverts, there will always be the organic listings. Sometimes the ads are very expensive. And as long as we're in the organic listings, we've got a very good chance of having customers find us. But you'll never get as many as if you're prepared to pay to Google for the ads.
Now, one thing we always have to remember is, however good the digital technology, there's got to be a human brain operating it and coming up with the right decisions. For you, how vital is it we're always getting new talent into this area of InsurTech and in this area of the industry to keep that progress going?
Yeah, it is important. And actually, I mean, as you say, human interaction is important. We don't run a telesales operation. We run effectively junior underwriters who take phone calls. They're able to give advice directly on policies, advise on our own policies, and customers are always very, very happy to have spoken to us. We get that FIFO sort of 4.8, 4.9 rankings out of 5 for our customer interaction, and that's very important. Keeping talent in the business or getting talent into the business, yeah, that's highly significant and can be difficult.
So let's spin things forward, because you aren't a million miles away from your 40th anniversary as a business. If we were having that conversation then, how do you think the industry will have changed in that time?
Well, what we're seeing in the industry is people are more and more willing to go online. We've seen that as we've developed. You know, initially people moved from a model where they would probably see a high street broker. And we suggest that people are probably prepared to pay up to about £800, £1,000 online without getting advice. As time goes forward, more and more people will probably want to buy online. We're hearing that the Generation Z are not going elsewhere. They're actually using the internet or their phones for almost everything they're doing. So there is going to be a general trend, I think, towards people being much more happy to go online. And I think the challenge for everybody is to make customers feel that we're doing the right thing for them, so they're in the right place. It's not just a vanilla process. It involves us showing our knowledge of what they're doing. So dog walkers, for instance, pictures of dogs and explaining various laws or rules about how they should be careful where they're walking their dogs, what local councils have to say about the number of dogs they can walk, making that information available quite easily to them.
Absolutely, it's just reinforcing that relationship with the customer. Julian, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciated your company and the conversation. I think we've covered an awful lot of ground and had a good look into the future as well, but also recognising how far we've come to.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us at InsurTech Live. Really enjoyed your company.
Thank you.
Thank you.